I wanna be the very best, like no DM ever was. Dun dun. To build encounters is my real test. To run them is my cause. My players will travel across the land, searching far and wide, learning to understand the power that's inside D&D. Anyway, you guys know me. I'm the Aries1999, and if you can't tell, today we are talking about combining Pokemon with D&D. Pretty exciting. And I'm not just talking about the Pokemon tabletop RPG. And yes, that's a thing. If you are somehow unfamiliar with Pokemon and yet still decide to click on this video, it's a franchise wherein people capture elemental monsters to make them battle each other. In the main games, you go around to face off against 8 main experts known as gym leaders with the hope of making it into the Pokemon League by defeating the Elite Four. Along the way, you help out some random people, find tools to help your progress, and defeat some crime syndicate like Team Rocket. We will be focusing today on the capturing mechanic of this, by making rules for players to be able to take control of the in-game monsters. In the video games, this is done by battling a wild Pokemon with your own, whittling down the target's HP, and then when you're ready, you throw a Pokeball. Then the game runs a calculation to determine if it all goes through. We're going to be simulating this formula with a more simplified version that I wrote up to work within D&D. Basically, it's if P of D plus M is greater than G of D plus 50 times HP plus 5 times CR minus SM, then the monster is captured. Now, sounds kind of complicated, but let's just break it down piece by piece. So, this might seem a bit complicated, but let's just break it down piece by piece. First, PD is just the player D100, M is the catch modifier, then GD is the game master D100, then the HP is just the proportion of remaining health, then the CR is the challenge rating, and then SM is the status condition. So all pretty straightforward. So this may seem kind of like a lot to keep track of, but at the end of the day, it's just a D100 contest with a couple of modifiers. I mean, after all, the CR is pretty much always going to stay the same. And you know what? Query, is there any circumstance where you would change the CR in the middle of a fight? I'm actually curious. Go ahead and put it in the comments if you can think of a situation where an individual creature's CR could change mid-battle. Anyway, in my experience, players usually don't inflict too many status conditions on monsters. Although, I guess they might do that a bit more if it's specifically a Pokemon-themed game. And the main concern is probably just going to be the health. And you know what? You're going to be keeping track of that anyway, I hope. Now, you're probably wondering what these various status modifiers are. Well, this basically goes in order of how much it prevents a creature from attacking. So, paralyzed, petrified, stunned is 20, blind, charmed, deafened, frightened is 15, poison, grappled, restrained is just 10. The catch modifier is determined by what type of Pokeball you used. This is where you as the Dungeon Master get some control over how convoluted you want the system to be by choosing which Pokeballs are available. Starting off with just the basic Gen 1 Pokeballs, Standard is +0 as you can imagine, a Great Ball is +10, an Ultra Ball is +20, and a Master Ball is just a guaranteed capture. Now let's go through some of the more unique ones. Quick Ball, +40 if it's used on the first round of combat. Then a Dream Ball is a +30 if used specifically on a sleeping creature. So, yeah, I guess the sleep spell might get some love with this one. The Timer Ball, this one starts at 0, but then gets a +10 boost per round in combat, with a maximum of +40. Then a Dusk Ball is +30 if used in a cave or at night, useful for getting them hook horrors. Then a Heavy Ball, -20 on a tiny creature, and then +10 for each size up. So a Gargantuan would be +30. This isn't an exhaustive list by any means, just some ideas I had for certain Pokeballs. Now, if you don't want these to be Pokeballs per se, then perhaps they are capture cards, or hunter cards, or capture crystals, or something like that. Either way, they would be a single-use item that could only hold one monster each. Now that brings me to another issue about what kind of creatures these would work on. I wouldn't necessarily mind my players being able to capture a zombie or even a wight, but a vampire feels like a bit too far. I would make a case-by-case decision on the basis of sentience. It would more or less boil down to whether or not this is in some way a person or else something that the players can reason with. If they can't, really communicate it and have a conversation, then it's probably fair game to capture it. Although there are some Pokemon that do talk, and yeah, that's another can of worms. But anyway, yeah, so the more simple-minded creatures you can capture, but something like a regular town guard, no. To show how this all would work, let's run through a quick sample encounter of a one-on-one fight between a wizard and a zombie. Now we'll say that for simplicity, the wizard chips down this zombie all the way to 1 health, and also casts Hold Person for a paralysis effect, then throws the Pokéball. The wizard rolled a 30 for his D100, and the DM rolled a 25. Let's calculate those modifiers. First, 1 remaining health out of the total of 20. Divide that out, you get 2.27 and some change. We round down in 5e, so that's just going to be a +2 overall. And the Pokeball is just a regular Pokeball, so that's going to be +0. And then, since it's paralyzed, it's going to be a -20. And then, since a zombie is a CR 1/4 creature, we multiply that by 5, gets us about 1.25, once again rounding down for 1. So then this is going to give us a total of 30 on the wizard's end, then the DM, 25 plus 2 is 27, minus 20 is 7, then plus 1 is 8. So the wizard wins in a landslide, and now has a zombie. Now, that we're talking about all the different types of Pokeballs that they might have, you might be wondering how they can get them and how much they might cost. Well, standard Pokeball, just, a common item if we're considering these using the magic standards. So that's going to be about 50 gold. Still pretty pricey, but, it's still a pretty good item nonetheless. Then, Great Ball, 100 gold. Getting a little pricier because it's getting better. Then 300 gold for the Ultra Ball. And then just unavailable for the Master Ball. If you want, you can maybe give these like legendary level pricing, but it also could be special if they just get one of these over the course of the campaign, and then they have to decide carefully which monster they want to capture with it. Now, in the games, you can only have a limit of 6 Pokemon in your party. I think that instead a limit of 3 per player works, since, they still have all of their own powers to rely on. Or I guess it could still just be a total of 6 per party, and the players all collectively control a team of monsters. That could work better for the themes of D&D, rather than each of them having their own 3. Now, if you want them to each have their own team of Pokemon, though, then I recommend what I like to call a Quest of the Ordinaries. This is where no one has any class levels, and all stats are determined by background and race. So this way they would pretty much have to be relying on the monsters that they capture in order to fight with. Now once these Pokemon are captured, they're subject to the commands of the player characters, but unlike in the game, I would say that they can die if their health gets too low. So this would kind of be like a Nuzlocke in that case. I mean, if they want to go ahead and just use their Master Ball to capture a purple worm, I guess that's fine, but they shouldn't be able to just keep resuscitating it over and over again. I mean, can you imagine what a group of D&D players would do with a quasi-immortal purple worm? But since these monsters are part of the party, then that means that they could gain experience, level up, maybe even evolve. Perhaps if they keep an Intellect Devourer for long enough, it can eventually, evolve into a Grell or something. That could be fun, see the way different monsters might connect to each other and the relations of what might evolve into what. And, as long as we're kind of on that topic, let's take a minute to sort of glance through the monster manual and see what direct comparisons we can make between Pokemon and monsters if you want to have like a direct Pokemon aesthetic by just retexturing some of the creatures to just look like Pokemon. So first up, I'm thinking, Charizard could be like a red dragon, or perhaps Golem is like a Galabdur, if that's how it's pronounced. Ghastly might be a shadow? Kind of unsure of that one. Beartic could be a Yeti, and Golett could be an animated armor. And you know what? That's all I really have for today. If you guys want, I can revisit this topic at some point, maybe go into more detail about the Pokemon world and about how you can use that for your own world building, talking about, just taking maps and repurposing them for your own dungeons, stuff like that. But until then, subscribe and let me know what you think down in the comments. If you want to follow along with the campaign I'm running, I'll have a link to my Enter the Dungeon campaign in the description. The monk Thitch, I think, would be particularly interested in these mechanics. Right now, he has 2 zombies bound to his service that he has in his bag of holding, so I might sort of introduce this into the campaign for him, so that way he can sort of grow his small army. I think they would like that. In addition to that, I'm also kind of running a side game with the people from the Super Carlin Brothers Discord community, and we're just kind of having a wacky adventure from various stuff that the Carlin Brothers have talked about. Right now, they are on the run from the law, having caused a bit of a ruckus in a small town in Virginia, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is after them, because they were formerly contractors of S.H.I.E.L.D., trying to get a shipment of Szechuan sauce, and, well, let's just say things did not go well when they went to a bagel shop and a robot tried to sacrifice a bit of bagel up to Brother Jay. You'll have to listen to figure out what all that mess is about. Anyway, I've been the Aries 1999. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day, and God bless.